counterpunch Tank.
Taking the fight to Davis. Davis high guard, wanting to explode with the left. Oh, and
bodies weren't falling for him at some points in that fight, but I believe we won that fight. Clearly, we should be two-time world champion right now.
After a controversial draw in their fight, Tank Davis went straight back to trolling, this time targeting Lamont Roach, Jr. Tank didn't hold back and wasted no time letting Roach know exactly how he felt. Tank's rivals have made comments about his performance in the ring, which have set up potential big fights for him in the near future. However, it seems that Tank's main focus right now is money, as he made it clear when discussing which fighter he would call out if he beat Roach.
Who were you going to call out? What was the plan originally?
I think he was here.
Tank gonna do him.
He came in my locker room.
Shakur Stevenson?
He wasn't in my locker room.
Big Paul.
Next question.
oh, and that right, but Davis took off some of the steam of the punch, but still, Roach leading with right.
Let's bring you up to speed. In a heated live session, Roach wouldn't let Davis get away with making fun of him. Davis insisted he was still the better fighter and told Roach he should be thankful he didn't get knocked out. He made it clear that while he did everything he could to win, he still fell short. After all the drama, it seems like Tank might not be done with Roach just yet.
Nobody like a draw, you know, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more, and I should have did more. I was lost in I lost track in
The fight itself was a good one. Roach came in sharp, outworking Tank in several rounds, and even had a standout moment in the 9th round that shocked the boxing world when Tank took a knee. Most fans and analysts thought it was clearly a knockdown, but the judges didn't see it that way. That one moment changed everything. If the call had been made correctly, Roach would have won the biggest fight of his career. Instead, the fight ended in a majority draw and Tank kept his WBA lightweight title.
Still, Roach leading with right.
He took a knee.
He took a knee.
Roach, despite the controversy, Tank has been in full troll mode ever since he got the chance to get on social media. He reminded Roach that he was still the king and made it clear that the draw wasn't enough for Roach to claim victory. "You should be thanking me for not ending your career," Davis said in one post. In another, he ignored Roach's performance completely, saying, "You had the fight of your life and fans still couldn't beat me." But Roach isn't the type to sit back and take it. He fired right back, telling Tank that he knew the truth. Davis gave it everything he had and still couldn't put him away.
Both eager. We watched the fight, they was both watching each other. Sometimes they stood right in front of each other, just trying to figure out where the holes were at. It was a very skillful fight.
And which is one of the things that when you fight somebody that you know.
In round 7.
You got to be careful because it almost seems like...
You know what happened in that ring? Roach said during an Instagram live session. He felt that he had done his best and still couldn't beat him. "I told you, I'm no Frank Martin. It was a clear challenge, one that Tank didn't appreciate." Davis then went on to talk about his knee injury in the fight, offering his excuse. It didn't take long for Tank to fire back, and this time, he took it even further. "Man, keep talking about that knee," he said. "I took a knee because I wanted to, not because he did anything special. I was just chilling, thinking about what I was going to eat after the fight. But everyone knows the truth. That moment from Tank was a rare sign of vulnerability, and Roach is using it to keep the pressure on."
And I thought I was doing my thing, so I'm not really that frustrated about that. But if that was kind of a knockdown, I would win the majority.
All the back and forth is now making Tank rethink his future. Before the Roach fight, Davis had been open about his plans to quit boxing soon. He originally said he had 3 more fights left after Roach and would be done by the end of 2025. But that draw changed everything. Now Tank is saying he's not going anywhere just yet. "Yeah, it definitely changed my plans," Tank admitted during the post-fight news conference. "I probably have 4 more fights now."
Your future.
Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans. I probably got like 4 more fights now. For sure.
Davis just got backed up with a counter.
This is a complete turnaround from where Tank was just a few months ago. At the end of 2024, Tank had said he was tired of boxing and ready to walk away. He had a plan to leave the sport behind. But now, things have changed. The draw against Roach is clearly weighing on him. Even though he won't admit it directly, his constant trolling is more than enough evidence that it's been bothering him. Meanwhile, all this is happening. Tank Davis is on a mission to expose Tank, and he's not holding back. Ever since Tank's controversial draw with Roach, Tank has been all over social media, making it clear that he never believed Tank was the fighter he claimed to be. To Kesson, Tank's entire image has been built on hype, not real skill. After seeing Tank struggle against Roach, Kesson is doubling down on that belief. He's convinced Tank isn't the fighter people think he is, and he's making it clear that if they ever fight, he would take Tank out without question.
Playing out, what's the biggest advantage that Keyshawn has? Going against Tank? Yeah, he's a great boxer. He sounds a great boxer, and he got power behind it. I can see that fight this being an entertaining fight. He sounds an entertainer like the Tank comes in there trying to knock you out. I can see that fight just being entertained and, doing later rounds. Keyshawn stop.
Kesson first spoke out on Instagram Live, and he didn't waste any time criticizing Tank's performance. "I feel like Lamont won. Let's start there," he said, making it clear where he stood. "I feel like Lamont definitely deserved the draw. It is what it is. I'm not hating on the champ, but I really think Lamont Roach pulled it off." But Kesson wasn't just sharing his opinion. He backed it up with facts. If the 9th round knee had been ruled a knockdown, Roach would have won on 2 out of the 3 scorecards, making him the new WBA lightweight champion. Instead, Tank kept his belt, and the controversy only added to the ongoing debate about whether he's really the best at 135. "If they ran it back, you all already know what would happen," Kesson added, making it clear that he believes Roach would win a rematch without a doubt.
Trash. Not. I'm talking about the opponent. Trash. I just don't like how
Davis leading with the left. Right hook.
But this wasn't just about Roach. It was about Kesson putting himself in the conversation. He doesn't just believe Roach can beat Tank, he's convinced he would do much worse to Tank himself. He confidently said, "Either one of those guys, I'm knocking them out." There was no hesitation, no uncertainty. He spoke like a man who already knew what would happen. "I'm telling you, if you give me either one of them before their rematch, I'm taking over. That rematch doesn't matter. I'm putting all these guys down." The message was clear. Tank and Roach can run it back as much as they want, but if Kesson gets to either of them first, he'll be the one to dominate the division.
But I don't want to fight one of them. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who I fight at this point. I don't care. But I'm telling you, if you give me either or before they rematch, I'm fucking their rematch up. They getting put. I'm telling you, I ain't even playing. I ain't playing, bro. I'm young. I'm on fire. I'm young and I'm on.
Then came the moment when Kesson really went after Tank. "Don't say Tank will knock me out anymore. I'm shutting that down right now. Don't even fix your mouth to say this man could knock me out," he fired back. It wasn't just trash talk. It was a complete rejection of everything Tank has built his reputation on. The knockouts, the fear factor. Kesson doesn't see any of it as real. In his mind, Tank has never faced anyone like him, and he's making it clear that once they step into the ring, it's going to be a completely different kind of fight, one Tank has never experienced before.
And I thought I should have won a competitive fight. I think I did what I needed to do necessary to bank the rounds, and even without the knee, that should have been a knockdown. So I don't think there's any excuse for me not to win tonight, but that's just how the cookie.
He's throwing a lot more. That left is landing.
Kesson isn't just talking for the sake of it. There's a real chance he could be the next one in line to face Tank. While Tank has mentioned he's open to a rematch with Roach, he also made it clear that it won't be next. This has fans wondering, if it's not Roach, then who? Names like Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson have been mentioned, but Kesson Davis is also in the mix. Given how personal Kesson is making this, the lead-up to that fight would be unlike anything we've seen from Tank in a long time. Kesson isn't just calling out Tank for his last fight. He's calling out his entire career. He's making the point that Tank hasn't been the fighter people think he is. Kesson claims Tank has been carefully matched with opponents to make him look good, rather than facing true threats.
Particular quality. If I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont.
Now that Tank has finally been in a real fight, he barely managed to survive. Kesson sees the myth of Tank crumbling, and he wants to be the one to put the final nail in the coffin. But it's not just Kesson who feels this way. Tim Bradley has been one of Tank's toughest critics for years, always questioning the quality of his opponents and how his career was managed. However, even Bradley had to admit that Tank had something special, especially in how he handled the challenges over time. Bradley began to see those qualities, even if he didn't always agree with how Tank carried himself. But after watching Tank's performance against Lamont Roach, Jr., all of that respect was gone.
I think when he found out that this guy is in front of me, he's taking it. I think it was too late. I thought it was disappointing that he didn't draw.
With his speed. Final 60 seconds.
It wasn't just that Tank didn't perform well, it was the way he carried himself. There was a sense of entitlement, a confidence that he could do whatever he wanted in the ring and still get away with it. Bradley had seen a lot in boxing, but Tank's behavior left him shaking his head. He had expected a dominant performance from Davis, a strong win that would shut down his critics and prove he was still the top fighter at 135. Instead, Tank looked weak, and even worse, he acted like he was above the sport itself.
See who it is. Hey, come on. Who is the dude? Who is the dude?
Bradley was shocked by what he saw and didn't hold back in his analysis. He believed Tank was being given an unfair advantage, that the fight was being managed to protect him instead of letting things unfold naturally. The 9-count incident was the perfect example. Bradley had never seen a fighter take a knee like that, stop the action on his own terms, and then have the referee completely ignore it. That was the moment Bradley realized Tank wasn't just coasting. He was being treated like boxing royalty, with the rules bent in his favor. For someone like Bradley, who took pride in fighting the hard way, this was completely unacceptable.
Yeah, that was bullshit. It should have been called a knockdown. You can't take a break like that. The only person that can do that is the referee. The referee can stop the action and say, hey, let me take...
Bradley also had a problem with Tank's attitude during the fight. There was no sense of urgency, and he didn't seem to make any real effort to take control in the later rounds. As the fight went on, it felt like Tank was just letting it slip away. It was almost as if he believed his reputation alone would be enough to win, thinking the judges wouldn't dare score against him. Bradley had seen fighters lose focus before, but this time, it felt different. Tank wasn't just cruising through the fight. He acted like doing the bare minimum was enough, and to Bradley, that was a major issue. Bradley was especially frustrated because Yen had actually started to change his mind about Tank. After Tank's knockout win over Ryan Garcia, Yen had admitted that Tank showed real patience, timing, and a high ring IQ. He even started defending Tank against critics who said he was overrated, arguing that Tank's power made him one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. But this recent fight completely shifted things for Yen. Tank's refusal to push himself and his reliance on his reputation, rather than his actual skills, made Bradley start to doubt whether he had been wrong in giving him that credit in the first place. The more Bradley thought about it, the angrier he got. This wasn't just about one fight. It was about what it meant for the future. If Tank was already showing signs of laziness, if he already felt like he didn't have to prove himself, what would happen in his next fights? What would happen if he faced someone like Kezin Davis, who was young, hungry, and eager to take him down? What would happen if he fought Devin Haney or Shocker Stevenson, to fight who wouldn't let him get away with taking rounds off, probably didn't like what he saw, and he wasn't afraid to say.
Still got to see each other. He say he want to fight me, so you gonna fight.
But what do you think about the decision?
I thought Lamont won.
Lamont won. I talk to you later.
Bradley boxing is about discipline, heart, and the willingness to dig deep when things got tough. He had been in wars that pushed himself to the absolute limit and had never once expected special treatment. That's why this whole situation disgusted him. He didn't care how much talent Tank had. If he wasn't willing to fight like a champion, then he was never a real champion. But even with all this backlash, Tank Davis seems to have reached a point where what the fans think doesn't really matter to Tim. He's not looking to prove himself against the best in his division. He's not worried about legacy right now. It's all about the money. And if that's the case, then Jake Paul is the biggest payday available. The clues are all there. Jake Paul was in the change room before the fight. The cameras made sure to show him during the program. And when Tank was asked about his next fight, he danced around the question in a way that made it clear he already knew who it was. He refused to say Jake's name when the media pit him, which could mean negotiations are already begun. And he didn't want to spill the news too soon. A fight with Jake Paul wouldn't be about competition. It would be about business. Jake knows how to sell a fight, and Tank is at a point where he's prioritizing paydays over challenges. He already hinted that a rematch with Lamont Roach wasn't happening next. Even though the controversy SE from their fight makes it the most logical option, the WBA should be ordering an immediate rematch. A Tank doesn't seem interested. If they push the issue, he could just vacate the title and move on. That's how little the belts matter to him now. And if he's going to move on from defending his title, why not go all in and take the biggest spectacle fight he can get? So size-wise, this fight makes no sense. Jake Paul walks around at 200 lbc 91 kg. Sand has even gone as high as 227 for his fight with Mike Tyson. Jake is a natural 135-pounder, maybe 140 at most. Even if Jake somehow drained himself down to 185, there would still be a 45 kg C20 kg C20 kg difference between them. But this isn't about fairness, it's about selling a fight. Jake Paul has already called out smaller fighters before, including Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. Facing Tank would just be another scene in his circus of fights.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super, super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
He left hook by Roach in the jab.
Continue. Jake knows exactly how to stir up attention and turn a fight into a major event. He's already making comments about how he could beat Tank due to the size difference, but still giving Tank credit as a fighter. Those types of comments keep the conversation alive and help build the hype. He's planting the idea and Tank seems to be playing along. If Tank were truly interested in facing Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson, he would have mentioned their names when asked. Instead, he dodged the question, allowing the speculation to grow. That's exactly how Jake's fight would be promoted.
I'm not. He's a champ though too, undefeated. And what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else the champ. I'm gonna come up here where the big boys at.
For years, Tank's fan base defended him when people questioned the quality of his opponents. They argued that he was the hardest puncher in boxing and didn't need to face the biggest names to prove himself. But now, even his most loyal supporters are finding it hard to stick up for him. His performance against Roach was underwhelming, and his attitude after the fight made it clear that he's not taking these bouts seriously. If he goes on to fight Jake Paul next, it would be clear that Tank no longer cares about facing the best in the sport. A fight with Jake Paul would bring massive attention from the mainstream media. Tank has always been a star in boxing, but Jake brings in a completely different crowd. This fight would sell based on the names involved, not because it's a competitive match. Casual fans would be all in, but hardcore boxing fans would be furious. Regardless, it would make money, and at this point, it seems like that's Tank's main focus. Some people might say Tank is just trolling and wouldn't actually fight Jake Paul, but the truth is, he hasn't denied it. When the idea came up, he didn't shut it down or laugh it off. He simply moved on to the next question. That's not how a fighter responds to a ridiculous rumor. It's how a fighter responds when something is being seriously discussed behind the scenes. The real issue is that Tank still has unfinished business in the lightweight division. There are top challengers waiting for him, like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and even Keyshawn Davis, who have all been calling him out nonstop. If Tank wants to prove he's the best at 135, those are the fights he needs to take. But if he chooses Jake Paul instead, it will be clear that he's no longer focused on greatness. He won't be trying to build a legendary career. He'll just be looking for the biggest paycheck possible, and right now, Jake Paul offers that. What do you think is next for Tank? Do you think Lamont Roach beat him? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates.